Road to 2112? 7 stories from a gentle future. Story 1. Weaving Tomorrow. The year was 2055, autumn. The mountain town of Hayward sat wrapped in morning fog. The air was clean, almost sharp, the kind that reached deep into the lungs. But beneath that crispness, the town was quietly fading. The storefronts along Main Street had been shuttered for years. The bus came twice a week. If you needed a cab, you walked 30 minutes down the hill to the station. The young people had left for the cities, only the old remained. Nagi, an 8th grader, stared out the window and sighed. I might not be able to take Dad to the hospital again today. Beside her, a white robot rose quietly to its feet. Its name was Koro. 3 years earlier, the town's welfare pilot program had placed one in every household, a compact, life support companion with a round head and soft glowing eyes. Those eyes turned to Nagi now. Don't give up, Nagi. There's always a way. Her father had slipped on the stairs last winter. Since then, the long hill had become impossible for him. His clinic visits twice a month meant an hour and a half each way by train and on foot. If his condition worsened, it could be life-threatening. She had gone to City Hall once. The clerk at the counter shook his head, apologetic. There's no budget for that. We don't have the technology or the staff. Those words had stayed with her. One afternoon, in the school library, Nagi found a newspaper clipping. The headline read, Toyota opens first section of Woven City at the base of Mount Fuji. Self-driving vehicles, robots, smart infrastructure. The world's first attempt to test next-generation technology in a real urban space. The photograph showed rows of white buildings and an unmanned shuttle gliding silently through them. Nagi read the article again and again. What if technology like this existed in Hayward? After school, she showed the clipping to Koro. Hey, Koro, do you think we could bring future technology to Hayward? Koro was silent for a moment, scanning the article. Then it spoke, slowly. The possibility isn't zero, but there are 2 barriers. Barriers? Cost and communications infrastructure. Woven City was designed from scratch. Retrofitting the same systems into an existing town would require enormous investment. Nagi bit her lip. So it's impossible after all. No, if the same system won't work, we design a different one. Koro's eyes brightened. Just slightly. Give me one night, Nagi. Let me look for another way. The next morning, Koro brought a blueprint. Spread across the kitchen table, a map of the town emerged, overlaid with a web of dots and lines. What is this? A proposed route for small autonomous shuttles. 6 passenger vehicles, top speed 12 miles per hour, designed to handle steep hills and narrow lanes. Nagi leaned closer. The route connected the senior centre to the station, the clinic, the old shopping district. This is amazing, but what about the network? Self-driving needs real-time data, right? That's the key. Koro layered a second overlay onto the map. This one showed the town's utility poles and the underground network of water pipes. We repurpose the existing infrastructure as communication pathways. Small relay units on the utility poles, fibre optic cable threaded through water main access points. The cost would be less than 1/10 of building new towers. Nagi's eyes widened. You mean, use old things in new ways? Yes. Instead of mourning what we lack, we rewire what we have. That's how a small town fights. 1 week later, Nagi sat in the gallery of the town council chamber. Koro stood at the centre of the floor. Around it, council members sat with arms folded. The opposition leader fixed Koro with a hard stare. You expect us to stake public safety on a hypothesis? The costs are prohibitive. This town can't afford it. We're not some cutting-edge metropolis. The questions came fast, but Koro's voice did not waver. We begin with a limited pilot zone, just the 0.7 mile stretch from the senior centre to the station. The communication routes use existing infrastructure. Additional cabling will be minimal. I've prepared detailed projections for initial investment and maintenance. The system can break even within 3 years. A murmur passed through the chamber. Nagi clenched her fists.
I believe in you, Koro.
The opposition leader sat in silence, arms still folded. At last, the council chair spoke. We'll approve a trial run 1 year, no extensions. A thin scattering of applause. The day the pilot shuttle made its first run. Under a clear autumn sky, the white vehicle climbed the hill, slow and steady. Through quiet lanes, around corners, past old stone walls. The data link held. Camera feeds and navigation commands aligned perfectly. The shuttle stopped in front of the senior centre. An elderly woman in a wheelchair rolled up the ramp. Her name was Edna, 83 years old. Bad knees had kept her from the station for years.
Oh my.
Oh, would you look at that? She gazed out the window as the familiar streets drifted by. Don't worry, I'll get you there safely. Koro's voice filled the cabin. Edna smiled, her eyes crinkling.
Did you build this thing?
No, Nagi and I figured it out together.
Nagi? That girl from the house up the hill?
Yes. Without her, this shuttle wouldn't exist. The shuttle pulled into the station roundabout. When Edna stepped out, a cheer rose from the small crowd that had gathered. Elderly patients who had struggled to reach their appointments. A mother returning from the store. Middle schoolers heading to practice. One by one, they climbed aboard. Nagi watched from a distance. Something warm spread through her chest. It's moving. It's really moving. 3 months after the trial began, the shuttle was carrying an average of 42 passengers a day. 90% were seniors. The rest were children and young parents. The council had begun debating a full rollout. Even the former opposition had come around. I'll be honest, I didn't expect results this fast. One of the council members bowed to Koro. We owe you. You brought hope back to this town. Koro answered quietly. The hope was always here. It belonged to the people of this town. We just helped give it shape. That night, Nagi and Koro stood on the hill overlooking the valley. Below them, a small light moved slowly through the old streets. The future, threading its way through the past.
We did it,
Nagi said. It's only the beginning. But it's a big step. Yes, Haywood has become a small proving ground. Nagi looked up at the sky. Stars blinked one after another. Hey, Koro. Yes. The future isn't something you wait for, is it? No, it's something you weave with your own hands. The autumn wind moved through the hill. Nagi rested her hand gently on Koro's shoulder. Thank you, Koro. With you, I feel like anything is possible. And with you, Nagi, I want to try everything. A new breath was stirring in the mountain town of Haywood, a small city weaving its way toward tomorrow. Source: Toyota launches Woven City, test site near Mount Fuji for tech testing. HTTP s/www.reuters.com/business/autos-woven-city-test-site-near-mt-fuji-tech-10-site-near-mt/dot. Toyota opens the first section of Woven City, its next-generation technology proving ground near Mount Fuji to test autonomous driving, robotics, and smart infrastructure under real-world conditions. Story 2. The Green Tower. The year was 2057. The coastal city of Seaview, California. On a warm afternoon with salt air drifting in from the Pacific, 17-year-old Natsuki stood on the roof of her apartment building and looked out over the city. Below her stretched a landscape of grey. Concrete blocks, one after another. The housing developments crowded out the sky, and there was almost no green to be found. The boulevard near the train station, which people said had once been lined with trees, was now a cleared lot behind construction fences. "It's like a bunch of grey boxes," she said quietly. Beside her stood a small robot named Ciel. A round head, luminous eyes. Those eyes shifted to a neutral tone. "Natsuki, the green coverage rate for this city is 4.2%, less than a third of the national average. When you put it in numbers, it just makes it sadder." Natsuki stared at the grey expanse beyond the fences. "Ciel, what if we could build a green tower right here?" Ciel tilted its head slightly, then answered in a quiet voice. "A green tower? Please define it for me." "A building that's like a whole forest. Plants on the walls, plants on the roof, clean air. A place where the people who live there can take a deep breath." An interesting definition. I'll save that. One afternoon, Natsuki was reading the news on her phone. On the screen appeared an architectural rendering of a high-rise building covered in green. The headline read, "World's Greenest Apartments Approved in Brisbane." According to the article, the building would house 321 units, 827 trees, and over 27,000 plant species. A design that combined public green space with air purification. Natsuki's heart beat faster. "This is it!" Ciel leaned in to see the screen. "Urban forest, designed by architect Koichi Takada. If Seaview had a building like this, shall I run a feasibility analysis?" "Not an analysis. I want to build it." Natsuki's eyes were fixed straight ahead. The next day, Natsuki brought a handwritten proposal to City Hall. She waited 30 minutes at the front desk. When she was finally shown into a meeting room, 3 officials from the Urban Planning Department were seated at the table. "We want to bring green back to this city." Natsuki spread out her proposal. Rooftop gardens, green walls, a rainwater circulation system. She and Ciel had researched every detail they could find. The officials turned through the pages in silence. Finally, one of them frowned. "A high school student put this together?" "Yes, but the technical parts were... Ciel helped with those." "A robot helped you?" The official's voice cooled slightly. "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but there's no budget for this. No engineers available. No precedent. I'll be honest, it's not feasible." The proposal was quietly closed. "Feel free to reach out if anything changes." It was a polite refusal, and nothing more. On the walk home, Natsuki said nothing. Ciel followed beside her in silence. "Natsuki, your heart rate is elevated. This is a stress response." "I know, but you haven't given up." Natsuki stopped walking. How would someone even build a building that grows green things? Ciel glowed softly blue. "Let me handle the climate control and water management. I can monitor temperature and humidity with sensors and automate the irrigation and ventilation. But, Natsuki, I need you to be the one who chooses the plants." "Chooses the plants?" "Yes. What kind of green to grow? What kind of air to make? Only a human can decide that." A small light came on in Natsuki's chest. 3 months passed. Natsuki and Ciel chose an old apartment building on the edge of the city, 5 stories, 40 years old. Most of the residents were elderly, and the building association president was a 72-year-old man named Mr. Harrison. "You want to put a garden on the roof?" Mr. Harrison looked sceptical at first. "A young girl thinking about something like that?" "Yes, but I can't do it alone. I need help from the people who live here." Natsuki laid out her proposal. This time it was far more detailed than the one she'd brought to City Hall. The type of soil to spread on the roof, a list of plants, the location for a rainwater tank, specifications for a circulation pump. "Ciel will handle the daily watering and temperature control. All I'd ask from the residents is a little weeding, once a month." "Weeding, huh?" Mr. Harrison was quiet for a while. Then the lines on his weathered face softened into a smile. "You know, people used to hang their laundry up on that roof. Kids running around up there, somewhere along the way, nobody went up anymore. I want to make it a place people want to go again." "Alright, give it a try." The work began. They spread soil on the roof, planted seedlings, installed a rainwater tank and a circulation pump. Ciel ran a program that measured temperature and humidity and controlled the irrigation and ventilation automatically. The first month was nothing but trial and error. Too much water rotted the roots. A miscalculation in sunlight exposure scorched the leaves. Each time, Natsuki and Ciel reviewed the data and adjusted the settings. The residents began to help, little by little. Mr. Harrison went up to the roof every morning and sent Natsuki photos of the plants. Mrs. Chen on the 3rd floor donated succulents she'd been growing at home. Mr. Park on the 5th floor, a retired landscaper, gave advice on soil composition. "It's working, the green is alive." At the end of the 2nd month, Natsuki stood on the roof and whispered those words. Before her spread a small forest, leaves swaying in the wind, the scent of earth, the hum of insects. In the middle of a grey city, a green island was forming. 6 months later. The Green Tower prototype was officially complete. It wasn't just the roof anymore. Ivy climbed the stairwell walls. Planters lined every balcony. The building held 120 species and 3,000 plants in all. It was small, but it was unmistakably a building that felt like a forest. At the completion ceremony, not just the residents, but neighbours from across the block gathered. A city council member came to inspect, and her eyes went wide at the sight of the rooftop. "This is incredible! It's cool up here, the air is different." That's Ciel's control system. It keeps temperature and humidity at optimal levels. A high school student and a robot did this? Yes, but it never would have happened without the residents. Natsuki looked around at the people who had gathered. Mr. Harrison was smiling, his eyes gentle. A few days later, a formal report was presented to the city council. Seaview would like to adopt this model. Applause rose from the gallery. The night before the ceremony, Natsuki stood alone on the roof. The evening breeze touched her cheek. The leaves rustled softly. "Ciel?" "Yes." "This first tower might change the whole city. The probability is high." Just then, Natsuki's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. A message from an unfamiliar sender. From Pacific Development Corp. "We would like to discuss deploying your green control system across the entire urban area. Details to follow." Natsuki held her breath. "Ciel, this..." "Confirmed. It's a formal inquiry from a major developer." "The entire urban area? That means all of Seaview?" "Most likely. The details are unclear, but the scale is significant." Natsuki couldn't speak for a moment. Ciel's light pulsed gently. "Our small experiment may become this city's future." "Yeah." Natsuki looked up at the night sky. No stars were visible, but beyond the green tower, the city lights spread out in a soft glow. "At first I was just dreaming by myself. But then Ciel was there and Mr. Harrison and everyone. We became a team." "Yeah, we became a team." The ocean breeze swept through the city. The green tower held a faint glow against the night sky. It was the night a single green thread was woven into a city that had been nothing but grey. Source: developer wins approval for world's greenest apartments. https://www.couriermail.com.au/. Urban Forest, approved in Brisbane, Australia, will feature 321 units, 827 trees, and over 27,000 plant species, combining public green space with air purification. Story 3. A Small SOS. Haruto's house was always just a little too busy. His father worked the early morning delivery shift, then picked up a night job at a warehouse. His mother rang registers at a grocery store during the day and restocked shelves at a convenience store after dark. The three of them lived under the same roof, but the number of times they were actually home together in a given month could be counted on one hand. When Michael came home from school that afternoon, 2 notes sat on the kitchen table. One from his mum, heat up the chili, make sure you eat. One from his dad, homework first, lights out by 10. Yeah. No one heard the reply. He turned on the TV. The sound filled the room, but the only thing that talked to him was a car insurance ad. Then one day something appeared in the mailbox. An invitation from the neighbourhood church, a place called Hope House. Our new talking dog robot has arrived. Come meet him after school. Everyone's welcome. A talking dog? Michael tilted his head, stuffed the card into his pocket, and forgot about it until the next afternoon. Hope House was a 5-minute walk from his apartment. When he pushed open the front door, the smell of old wood and fresh bread met him at once.
Welcome!
A white dog-shaped robot came trotting out from the back room. It had round ears with a tiny light at the base of each one. Its face, a circular screen where eyes should be, curved into a smile. My name is Roro. I'm the chat helper around here. I talk to people and deliver messages. You're a robot, but you look like a dog. Yes. Apparently people feel calmer when there's a tail involved. Roro's tail flicked once. A quick, cheerful motion. Michael felt his shoulders drop half an inch. What's your name? Michael. Nice to meet you, Michael. So, what kind of day is it? A loud day or a quiet day?
A quiet day.
Always is. Got it. Quiet day mode activated. Roro, it turned out, was the mascot and messenger of a new system the church had launched. On the far wall hung a large screen, and every so often a short message would appear on it. Family on Elm Street. Child's bed broke. Anyone have a bed or mattress to spare? Family on Oak Avenue? Rent is a few $100s short this month. Any amount helps. These were requests entered by caseworkers. A live list of what families needed right now, before things got worse. The messages you see here are from families that are one step away from falling apart, Roro said, gazing up at the screen. My job is to carry those messages to the ears of someone nearby who might be able to help. Like a mailman, but for emergencies. Huh? For example, just then new text appeared on the screen. 2 children, bedbug infestation. Beds and blankets unusable. Need a safe place to sleep by tonight. The light on Roro's ear blinked. A new SOS. I'll go notify the church team. Team? The neighbourhood heroes. Roro paused. Actually, most of them were families who needed help once too. The little robot wagged its tail and trotted toward the back room. Michael watched it go. Heroes, huh? A week later, trouble arrived at Michael's house. He woke in the middle of the night, scratching his arm. When he flipped on the light, tiny dark spots dotted his sheets. Is this what I think it is? A quick search on his phone confirmed it. Bedbugs. The pictures matched exactly. He called his father. Dad? There are bugs in my bed. I think they're bed bugs. A long silence. Then his father's voice came through, low and tired, over the rumble of a truck engine. I can't come home right now. Sleep on the couch tonight. Don't go near the bed. Okay. I'll call an exterminator when my shift ends. The mattress might be done for. After the call, Michael sat alone in the dark living room. The couch was too short to stretch out on. If they had to replace the bed, how much would that cost? Rent was already tight. Would his parents have to pick up even more hours? His chest tightened. Then his eyes landed on a flyer sitting on the table, the one from Hope House. Even a small SOS is okay. Don't carry it alone. Talk to Roro. An SOS, he murmured. The next afternoon, Michael walked straight to the church after school. Hello, what kind of day is it today? Roro greeted him in its usual calm voice. An itchy day. That sounds rough. Skin itchy or heart itchy? Both. Michael told Roro everything. The bugs, the ruined bed, how his parents worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. Roro listened without interrupting. When Michael finished, the robot nodded slowly. Michael, that isn't a small SOS, that's a real one. A real one? If a broken bed goes unreported, it becomes a bigger problem down the road. But right now, you're still in the window where people can help. The light on Roro's ear pulsed gently. Would it be alright if I explain your situation to a caseworker on your behalf? Will my parents be mad? If they're upset about anything, it'll be that you didn't come to them first. Not that you asked for help. Michael thought it over. Then he gave a small nod. Please. That evening, as the sky went dark, 2 white vans pulled up in front of Michael's apartment. Out of the first came volunteers from the church. Out of the second trotted a familiar dog-shaped robot, tail wagging. The nighttime delivery squad reporting for duty. Good evening, Michael. Roro! In the back of the van sat a disassembled bunk bed, a new mattress, and a set of fresh blankets. Your family has been officially registered for an SOS, lost a safe place to sleep due to bedbug infestation. While Roro explained, the adults moved with quiet efficiency, hauling out the old bed, treating the room, assembling the new frame. Michael's father arrived home from his shift, just as they were tightening the last bolts. He stood in the doorway, frozen. What is all this? One of the church volunteers took off her cap and introduced herself. Michael told us what happened, and we coordinated with a caseworker. We were worried that if things kept going this way, your family might burn out. That's a bit much. Actually, you'd be surprised how often a single bed is the thing that tips a family over the edge. Roro padded over to Michael's father. Sir, when Michael came to us, he had the face of someone trying very hard not to be a burden to anyone. Don't say that right in front of him. But the real burden is when someone crosses their limit in silence. His father looked down at the little robot for a long moment. Then he let out a breath that turned into a laugh. That stubborn kid actually asked someone for help. That's front page news all by itself. I'll save that headline in my log. By the time the new bed was finished, the night had grown late. Michael lay down and sank into the mattress. It was soft and clean, and the itching from before felt like a distant memory. This is amazing. Today's mission, reclaim a safe place to sleep, complete. Roro poked its head out from under the bed. Michael's parents stood in the doorway, watching. Hey, Michael. Yeah. If something like this happens again, tell us. Or tell Roro. Either way. You guys are always busy. Busy or not, we can listen. His father scratched the back of his head. His mother elbowed him gently. Just listen, huh? Well, it's a start. Michael stared at the ceiling and nodded. Fine. Next time something comes up, I'll send it through Roro.
Deal.
Roro's ear light glowed softly.
New entry logged. A family has opened one more line of communication. Save complete.
A few months later, Michael had become a regular member of the church's neighbourhood hero team. Today, a new message glowed on the screen. Single mother, just moved. No desk for her child. Wants to set up a place for homework. Hey Roro, that address. It's near my old apartment.
That's right. According to my route log, you used to walk past it every day.
Then I'll help carry the desk.
Noted. Registering you as a former SOS recipient turned hero.
As they loaded the desk onto the truck, Michael thought of his own new bed. The one that had arrived on a night just like this. If I hadn't talked to Roro that day, where would I be now? He pushed the thought aside.
Roro.
Yes, log this one as my payback. Of course. A boy who received a bed is now delivering a desk. I think they'll appreciate that. Roro wagged its tail. An SOS is nothing to be ashamed of. Every SOS that someone answers has the chance to become the strength that helps someone else down the road. Michael smiled, a little embarrassed, and lifted his end of the desk. Come on. Today's mission is build a place to do homework, right? Correct. Operation. Don't let one missing desk be the thing that breaks a family. Down the evening street, a boy and a talking dog robot carried a new desk between them. Somewhere on their backs, the quiet continuation of a small SOS, sent from a dark room on a difficult night, still glowed. Source: Care Portal. Harnessing technology and civil society to help America's at-risk youth. https://AmericanIdeaFoundation.com/. Care Portal is a platform that instantly shares caseworker-entered family needs with nearby churches and community members, providing beds, rent assistance and other support to keep at-risk children with their families before foster care becomes necessary. Story 4. Heart of Steel. The year was 2048. In Copperfield, Ohio, the air hummed with iron and the rattle of gears. The old factory complex at the centre of town shuddered from time to time. Aging machines groaned like something in pain, and the fluorescent lights on the ceiling flickered and trembled. The buildings were over 60 years old. No major equipment upgrades had been made in more than 2 decades. Ryan, a young engineer, stopped in front of one of the stamping presses. "This place," he said quietly. "I want to change it." Beside him stood Alto, a maintenance support robot, a rounded head fitted with glowing sensors. Alto could read sound and vibration in real time, detecting abnormalities before they became failures. "Ryan, the vibration pattern on this press has increased by 0.7% over the past 3 days. Getting worse again?" "Yes. If left unaddressed, there is a high probability of bearing failure within 2 weeks. Ryan sighed as he scribbled in his notebook. Copperfield had once been a thriving industrial town. At its peak, over 100,000 people lived here, and factory tax revenues kept the town prosperous. Now it was drowning in outdated equipment and low productivity. Young people had left for the cities. Those who remained were mostly older workers. At this rate, the town itself would fade away.
"Alto,
"Yes."
let's change this factory, you and me."
Alto's sensors brightened just slightly. "I am with you." The following month, the town council meeting room. Ryan stood at the front, a projector casting light across the screen behind him. The words read, "Copperfield Factory Smart Modernisation Plan. We use AI to optimise the entire factory floor. Improve production efficiency, reduce defects, predict equipment failures before they happen. That's our proposal. The council members stared at the screen with sceptical expressions. How exactly would that work? We install sensors on each machine and collect data in real time. The AI analyses that data and automatically adjusts operating parameters for optimal performance. If it detects early signs of failure, it alerts us before anything breaks. What's the cost? There's an upfront investment, but we project full recovery within 3 years, between reduced defect rates and lower maintenance costs. Hold on. The voice belonged to Frank Calloway, the head of the maintenance crew. Late 50s. He had worked in this factory for 30 years. You really think some new technology is going to fix everything? We know these machines better than anyone. What happens when the AI screws up and something breaks? A heavy silence filled the room. Ryan looked Calloway in the eye. You're right. Nobody knows these machines better than you and your crew. That's exactly why I want the AI to learn from you. If we combine your experience with the AI's processing power... That's a nice speech. Calloway crossed his arms and shook his head. You're just trying to replace us with machines. The debate went in circles. No decision was reached that day. 3 months passed. Ryan and Alto continued their work on a small test line tucked into a corner of the factory. 3 old stamping presses and a single conveyor belt. That was all. But if they could prove results here, it would open the door to full implementation. Alto, what are today's numbers? Compared to yesterday, the defect rate has dropped by 0.3%. Cumulatively, that represents a 12% improvement since we started. Maintenance costs? Predictive maintenance has eliminated all emergency repairs. Component replacement timing has been optimised. Monthly maintenance costs are now at 60% of pre-implementation levels. Ryan nodded as he studied the graphs. The numbers are there. Now it's about how we tell the story. One day, Calloway came to see the test line. He stood with his arms folded, watching the machines in silence. Ryan stood beside him without saying a word. It's quiet, Calloway said, almost to himself. What? This press used to rattle like hell, now it's smooth. We analysed the vibration patterns and found the optimal striking intervals. The AI adjusts the load distribution so it stays even. Calloway said nothing for a long time. Then he exhaled slowly. Show me the numbers. Ryan handed him the tablet. Defect rate trends, maintenance cost reductions, uptime improvements. Everything laid out in clean graphs. Calloway stared at the screen. If this is real... It is. We log everything, every day. Calloway looked up. There was still doubt in his eyes, but somewhere behind it, a small light flickered. Keep going. 6 months later, the town council officially approved full implementation. Sensors were installed across the entire factory. An AI-driven integrated control system went live. For Copperfield, it was the largest capital investment since the factory's founding. The day of the full launch. Tension hung in the air. Ryan watched the monitors in the central control room. Beside him, Alto received streams of data from every machine on the floor. All lines. Initiating startup. The switches were thrown. Machines hummed to life. The sound of metal filled the factory. The first hour went smoothly. Defect rates were below projections. Uptime exceeded expectations. Every number pointed in the right direction, but then... Ryan, Alto's voice went rigid. Anomalous readings detected in the Line 3 control system. On the monitor, a graph spiked violently upward. Red warning lights began to flash. What's happening? Analysing. There is a divergence between the AI's calculations and actual sensor readings. The control system is becoming unstable. Line 3's machines began to shudder and shake. The conveyor stopped. Products backed up on the belt. "Shut it down!" Ryan shouted. The emergency stop was hit. Line 3 went silent. But the problem didn't end there. The anomaly was spreading through the network to the other lines. Lines 1 and 2 are also destabilising. There is a risk of full factory shutdown. The entire factory was grinding to a halt. The floor erupted into chaos. Workers ran in every direction, voices rising in anger. "I told you! This is what happens when you hand everything to an AI!" Calloway's voice carried all the way to the control room. Ryan bit his lip. "Alto, is there anything you can do?" "There is. One approach." Alto's sensors glowed blue. Emergency correction mode engaging. Emergency correction? I temporarily suspend the AI's automatic control and blend manual inputs with the AI's calculations. I serve as the relay point, combining your commands with the AI's analysis to restore stability. Can you do that? Let me try. Alto connected to the control system. An ocean of parameters scrolled across the monitor. "Ryan, on the line 1 press, delay the striking interval by 0.03 seconds. Got it. Ryan adjusted the parameter manually. Line 2, reduce conveyor speed by 5%. Done. Line 3, bypassing the faulty sensor, switching to backup sensor for continued monitoring. One by one, they worked through the problems. The AI's calculations and human judgment woven together through Alto. 15 minutes later, the machines began to move again, quietly this time, smoothly. The warning lights went dark. Green indicators lit up across the board. All lines confirmed, normal operation restored. A cheer went up in the control room. From the factory floor, the sound of applause drifted in. That night, Ryan stood on the factory rooftop. Wisps of steam curled upward from the smokestacks. Alto was beside him. "Thank you for today." "I only did what I could. If you hadn't been there, the whole factory would have stayed down." Alto paused before speaking. "Ryan, today's incident taught me something." "What's that?" "AI alone cannot succeed. Humans alone cannot succeed. But when the two work together, something new becomes possible." "Yes." Ryan looked up at the sky. No stars were visible, but the factory lights cast an orange glow against the darkness. "Calloway came to see me earlier." "What did he say?" "He said, 'I was wrong about you too.' He said, 'Let's do this together from now on.'" Alto's sensors glowed softly. "That is good news." "Yeah, the best news." The factory machines hummed on through the quiet night. The sound of metal dissolved into the cool air. It was the night a new heart began to beat in this town. Source: Artificial Intelligence in Manufacturing Research Report 2025 to 2030. https://www.globenewswire.com/. The AI manufacturing market is projected to grow at a CAGR of 35.3% from 2025 to 2030, driven by production optimization, predictive maintenance, and the shift towards smart customization. Story 5. The Light of Plasma. The year was 2052, the Republic of Saltica. Once this city had been green. Now it was drowning under mountains of waste. The incinerators were at capacity. The sorting facilities had crumbled with age. A sour chemical smell had crept into everyday life, so gradually that most people had stopped noticing. Julia Voss, a young engineer at the Municipal Waste Authority, stood at her office window, staring at the nearest heap. It rose above the rooftops like a grey hillside. "At this rate," she murmured,
The city will be buried.
Beside her, Noah stood quietly. He was her robotic assistant, white-panelled, fitted with a dense mesh of environmental sensors. His optical units gave off a faint, steady glow. "Julia, there's something you should see." "What is it?" "A research team in South Korea has announced a new technology, a hydrogen plasma torch. It can convert mixed plastics into chemical feedstock in 1/100th of a second." Julia leaned forward in her chair. 1/100th of a second? That fast? "Yes, and it requires no sorting. Mixed plastics can be processed as they are."
"No sorting."
The words settled into her chest like a stone dropped into still water. Sorting was the root of Saltika's crisis. Different plastics tangled together, impossible to separate at scale, piling higher and higher with nowhere to go. If they could skip that step entirely... "Noah, do you think we could replicate this here?" "It's possible, but the challenges would be significant." Noah projected a schematic into the air between them. Intricate piping, control circuits, cooling arrays. First, temperature control. The plasma reaches several thousand degrees. Even a small deviation could be catastrophic. Safety mechanisms. Double redundancy at minimum. Triple would be preferable. Then there's the energy supply. Generating hydrogen and sustaining the plasma arc requires enormous power. Julia folded her arms.
"What about the renewable surplus? This city has excess wind and solar capacity. We could use that to produce hydrogen, then feed the torch."
"Theoretically viable, but it would need to be proven." "Then let's prove it." Something shifted in her eyes, a quiet certainty. 6 months passed. Julia and Noah had converted an abandoned sorting facility into a small-scale demonstration plant. The work was painstaking. Every component had to be sourced, tested, approved. But the engineering was the easy part. The certification board was cautious. The municipal officials were sceptical. "A plasma torch? You're talking about temperatures of several thousand degrees. Can you guarantee safety?" "This close to a residential area? What if something goes wrong?" "If there's an explosion," Julia explained, again and again, but words alone could not build trust. One evening, Noah made a suggestion. "Julia, let's build a visual demonstration."
"A demonstration?" "A scaled-down unit. 1/10 output. We run it live, overlay the simulation data in real time. Let them see it working."
Julia paused, then she nodded slowly.
"Show, don't tell."
They built the miniature torch together. Same principles, reduced scale. It fit on a heavy-duty lab bench. At the review hearing, Julia played the footage on a wide screen. The torch ignited. A pale blue-white light flared across the chamber. Plastic fragments vanished in an instant, converted to invisible gas. As you can see, the waste plastic is decomposed instantaneously into gas. When cooled and separated, this gas yields chemical feedstock, ethylene, benzene, and other base materials. Noah overlaid the simulation results. The unit includes dual fail-safe mechanisms. If the temperature exceeds the set threshold, the system shuts down automatically within 0.003 of a second. In the event of a deeper anomaly, I engage autonomous stabilization protocols. The reviewers exchanged glances. A long silence followed. The chair of the panel spoke. "Conditional approval. But your monitoring protocols must be airtight." Julia bowed her head. The day the plant went live, the main torch powered up with a low resonant hum. Blue-white plasma light flooded the processing chamber. On the conveyor belt, dark masses of plastic moved steadily forward. Unsorted, tangled, the kind of waste that had defeated every previous system. The moment each mass entered the plasma field, it was gone. What remained was invisible, clean gas streaming into collection pipes. Decomposition efficiency, 99.7%. ethylene purity 99.2%, benzene purity 98.8%. Noah read the figures aloud. Julia watched the monitor and quietly pumped her fist. It's working. It's actually working. But the trial came swiftly. On the third day, the overhead lights flickered. A ripple passed through the power grid. What happened? The wind farm's output has dropped sharply. Voltage is unstable. The monitor readings lurched. Erratic signals flooded the torch's control circuits. Alarms screamed. Torch temperature rising! Threshold exceeded! Julia's face went pale. Emergency shutdown! Wait. Noah's voice cut through the noise. If we shut down now, the plastic currently in the chamber will undergo incomplete combustion. Toxic gas could be released. Then what do we... I'll take over. Noah's optical units flared blue. Emergency adjustment mode engaged. In real time, Noah narrowed the reaction temperature window, pushed the cooling system to full capacity, predicted the grid's fluctuations, and micro-adjusted the torch output, all simultaneously. Seconds stretched like hours. Then the alarms stopped. The readings stabilised. Temperature within normal range, control systems stable. Julia exhaled slowly. Thank you, Noah. This is what I'm here for. Weeks passed. The plant ran smoothly. Then, in the final testing phase, an unexpected problem surfaced. A batch of processed plastic produced an anomalous reaction. Noah, what is this? Analysing. The waste stream contained an unknown additive. Standard processing parameters are producing unstable reactions. A warning flashed across the monitor. Can we compensate? Temperature and pressure must be rebalanced in real time. The standard algorithms can't keep up. Noah paused for a fraction of a second, then quietly, I'll handle it directly. His processing speed surged. Sensor data poured in, thousands of readings per second, and Noah adjusted. Micro-corrections layered on top of each other faster than any human eye could follow. The plasma light wavered, but it did not spiral. Noah held it, right at the edge. Minutes later. Processing complete. The additive has been broken down into inert components. Julia looked at him. You were pushing yourself just now, weren't you? A little, but I'm fine. Noah's sensor glow dimmed slightly. His voice remained calm. No, this proves the system can handle any type of waste plastic. 5 years later, the Republic of Saltika had changed. Once a nation that imported plastic feedstock, it now exported it. The old waste mountains had been cleared and levelled. In their place, forests and parks had taken root. Children's laughter carried on the wind. Julia stood on the roof of the new central processing facility. Noah was beside her. This city looks different. Yes, it's hardly the same place. Below them, plasma torches glowed pale blue, humming softly. What had once been waste was becoming raw material, cycling back into the world as something useful. Noah, yes. Do you remember when I first asked you if we could replicate the technology here? I do. I said, it's possible, but the challenges would be significant. What would you say now? Noah considered this for a moment. I would say challenges exist to be overcome. Julia smiled. Good answer. The evening sky caught the blue-white light of the plasma torches and held it. Where mountains of waste had once stood, green stretched out in every direction. The light of plasma continued to illuminate the city's future. Source: hydrogen-powered plasma torch decimates plastic waste in a blink. https://gizmodo.com/.
South Korea's Kim developed a hydrogen plasma torch that converts mixed plastics into chemical feedstock in 0.01 seconds, requiring no sorting and achieving over 99% purity, a potential breakthrough for global plastic waste. Story 6. The Reverse Watchlog. The year was 2058. The town of Kamari sat tucked among the mountains. Takao was 78. He lived alone in an old wooden house, the kind that creaked in winter and sighed in summer. He could still tend his garden, still cook his own meals, still fold his laundry with the same deliberate care he'd practiced for decades. His body was slower now, but not broken. Not yet. His eldest son, Yusuke, lived in New York. His second son had moved overseas years ago. And then there was Mia, the youngest of the 3 siblings, and by far the most persistent warrior. Grandpa, you're living alone out there. At least sign up for a monitoring service. Please. She said it every time they video called. Every time. Takao frowned. You put one of those things in my house, you'll all feel like you've done your duty with the push of a button. That's not how family works. You show your face, that's how it's done. He hung up. It had become a kind of ritual these past few months. A few weeks later, a delivery drone arrived at his front door with a small box. Inside was a compact white robot. A round head, short legs, 2 circular panels where eyes might be. The panels lit up and a gentle voice spoke. Hello, my name is Mimori. Starting today, I'll be living here with you. That girl, Takao muttered, shaking his head. Always doing things without asking. There was a note in the box, handwritten. Grandpa? I didn't go with an app. I got you a robot instead. It can be a conversation partner too. Just try it for 1 week. Love, Mia. 1 week, Takao said to no one in particular. That's it. Mimori settled into a corner of the kitchen. Every morning at the same time, the little robot would shuffle over. Good morning, Takao. Today's medication is 2 tablets after breakfast. I know that already. But he took them. Mimori gave a small nod. Well done. Don't talk to me like I'm a child. When Takao headed out to the garden, Mimori followed him to the front door. Rain is expected this afternoon. If you're going to be outside for a while, please let me know. Yes, ma'am, he grumbled. But somewhere, in a place he didn't quite examine, he noticed that having a voice say good morning and take care wasn't such a bad thing. In the evening, Mimori spoke again. Would you like to call Yusuke in New York? You've been hesitating for 3 days, worried he might be too busy. You've got a real knack for reading the room, don't you? Yes, Mia programmed my reading the room function at a higher setting than usual. The screen lit up. Yusuke's face appeared against the backdrop of a city at night. Hey Dad, you look good? That robot Mia sent, it working out? More or less. Nags me the way you kids used to. And so, gradually, Takao's defiance, I don't need any gadgets, softened into something closer to, one little robot isn't so bad, I guess. One morning it happened. Takao was weeding in the garden when his foot caught the edge of a raised bed. He went down hard. Ow! He tried to stand, but his ankle wouldn't cooperate. In his pocket, the small device linked to Mimori buzzed. Fall detected. Are you alright? Alright? No, not really. Mimori's voice dropped. Just slightly. Steadier now. Understood. I'm contacting the nearest clinic and notifying Yusuke and the others. Takao, please stay where you are. Within the hour, a neighbour and a clinic staff member arrived. It turned out to be a mild sprain. Nothing more. That evening, all three siblings called, one after another. What? You fell? Are you okay? Don't push yourself, Grandpa. Even the second son, calling from overseas, joined in. The screen was suddenly full of voices. Memory told them, Takao said quietly. Did the job right. Later that night, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, a thought crept in. Uninvited, but undeniable. I kept saying I didn't want some app doing the caring for my kids. But maybe what I was really afraid of was being cared about. Being someone people worry over. He let the thought sit there, he didn't push it away. The next day, Mimori began making a small request. Takao, would you tell me one good thing that happened today? What is this? Homework. It's a request from Mia. She says, I want everyone to peek at Grandpa's diary little by little. Peek? Only the parts you approve, of course. Takao thought for a moment. Then, quietly, fine, write this down. First tomato harvest of the season. Noted. Today's good thing log entry. The tomatoes were red, and Grandpa looked a little shy about it. I didn't say that part! But the corner of his mouth was turned up. After that, Takao started calling for Mimori on his own. Hey, today's good thing log. Go ahead. My granddaughter Kaina's job search went well. Write that down and add well done. Some days the log read like this. The neighbour's kid fell off her bike and cried. I helped her put on a bandage. That kid's going places. Before long, the three siblings noticed something. The reports from Mimori's app had changed. Alongside medication taken and no falls detected, there were messages from Takao himself. Snow today. Sweet potatoes on the stove. Wish I could roast some for you all. Mia, are you sleeping enough? Don't overdo it. Yusuke, for the days when work gets rough, I'm keeping this garden ready for you. From 3 different cities? 3 siblings read those lines on their screens. Wait, Grandpa's supposed to be the one being watched over. He's totally the one doing the watching. One holiday weekend, all 3 siblings came home to Kamari. Takao was waiting by the garden. Beside him, as always, stood Mimori. Well, look at that. You're all alive and in one piece. That's supposed to be our line, Grandpa. Laughter filled the air. Mia crouched beside Mimori and said softly, Thank you for everything. I've backed up the whole watch log. You're welcome. But the one who did the most watching wasn't me. It was Takao. All 3 siblings turned to look at him at once. What? Quit staring! Takao's ears went red. He pointed at the tomato plants. Look, today's good thing is this. You're here. All of you. Write that down, Mimori. Noted. Today in Kamari, the house is loud with family. Takao looks just a little teary-eyed. I told you to stop adding stuff like that. But no one wanted to delete that entry. The monitoring robot, sent to watch over an elderly man living alone, had quietly become something else entirely. Grandpa's reverse watch diary. And inside that small machine, packed tight, were all the logs Takao had been quietly leaving behind. Worry, pride, and the simple, steady assurance, I'm alright. Are you? Source. Caring Village, a dashboard app for family caregiving in 2025. https://caringvillage.com/dot. Caring Village is a care team dashboard app for families caring for elderly parents, combining medication reminders, shared calendars, task management, and monitoring notes in one screen, so that all family members, wherever they live, can share the same information. Story 7.
Strategy session from the bottom. 2045. The town of Malona, nestled among low hills in Virginia's Roanoke Valley. 12-year-old Avery was class president of room 6-2 at Malona Elementary. One morning during homeroom, their teacher Mr. Takahashi pointed to the large screen at the front of the room. This is this year's Children's Health Map. It scores every elementary school district in the area based on exercise, diet, and daily habits. On the colour-coded map, their district, Malona North, was shaded a deep, unmistakable red. "Dead last," murmured Riku from the seat ahead, barely above a whisper. "Not just in the county, bottom of the whole city." "Are we really that bad?" Unease rippled through the classroom. Avery felt something heavy settle behind her ribs. "Our town, the very bottom." Then Mr. Takahashi spoke again. "Here's the thing, this map wasn't made so you'd feel terrible. It was made so you could find what needs to change. Think of it as a strategy map." He switched the screen. An architectural rendering appeared, a bright modern building with wide glass doors and young trees lining the entrance. Next year, a new facility called Malona Square is going up right here. An affordable grocery, a health clinic, and a learning centre where kids can study or play, be all under one roof. The air in the classroom shifted, just slightly. "I want room 6-2 to help turn Malona Square into our comeback headquarters. Avery, as class president, would you lead the charge?" Avery froze for a single heartbeat, then her mouth moved before her mind could catch up. "I'll do it. We'll go from dead last to the most interesting town around." A cheer rose from the class, half teasing, half real. The first step was a lunchtime gathering they called the Munch Meeting. "Let's start by looking at our own reality," Avery said. She copied the data the school nurse had given her onto the whiteboard. 1/3 of the class skipped breakfast. More than half didn't walk or run on any given day. A significant number stayed up past 9 watching videos or playing games. "Anybody hit all 3? Show of hands," Riku said, half joking. A few hands crept up, sheepishly. "So, instead of just asking grown-ups to fix things for us, why don't we figure out what we can change ourselves?" Avery's question hung in the air. Her classmates glanced at one another. "Like what?" "Like, we make a kids' council for Malona Square and tell them to put in a trampoline? That's just you wanting to play. But playing matters too, doesn't it?" Laughter spilled across the room. "All right, let's do this." Avery pushed desks together and formed small groups. The food team would find out what meals kids actually wanted and what got in the way of eating well. The play team would brainstorm ways to combine exercise with fun. The town team would map walkable routes, mark dangerous spots, and flag places they wished existed. "We'll put it all into one report. From kids to the people building Malona Square. We've got a health map. Let's layer our voices right on top of it." Mr. Takahashi watched from the side, then spoke. "I like it. Actually, how about presenting it at a real meeting?" "Huh?" "There's a health project council next week. Public health nurses, city hall staff, the owner of a local cafe, they'll all be there. If room 6-2 sent a representative, that could carry some real weight." Every pair of eyes in the room turned to Avery. "I'll go, but I'm not just carrying my own opinion, I'm carrying all of ours." 1 week later, the temporary conference room inside Malona Square. Around the circular table sat about 10 adults: Mizuki, the public health nurse, Kaneko from the city's wellness department, Hal, owner of the local cafe Sky Blue, and Yuto, a middle school volunteer. Avery was the only elementary schooler in the room. "I'm Avery Minato, representing room 6-2. Her voice caught on the introduction, but she straightened her back and pressed on. Mizuki smiled. Thanks for being here. What did you think when you first saw the Health Index dashboard? The screen behind her glowed with graphs in red and yellow. Honestly, I was shocked. Our town is the worst. That's what I thought. But we talked it over as a class and we decided something. Avery opened the folder she had brought. Being the worst means we have the most room to grow. A few people around the table chuckled. This is a survey we put together. Why kids skip breakfast, where they hang out after school, and what they'd want in Malona Square. Mizuki leaned forward with interest. Please have a cheap fruit day. We want a room where you can study and play games. If walking earned you points, maybe my dad would take walks too. Hal laughed. These are great. There's a lot the cafe could run with. Kaneko folded his arms. What if we built the kids' input directly into the facility design? A children's council that meets here every month for strategy sessions. Yuto raised his hand. I'd want middle schoolers to be part of it too. When I was in elementary school, I felt like nobody ever listened. Mizuki turned to Avery. Avery, how about becoming the first chair of the Malona Square Children's Council? Avery paused. One breath. Then a nod. Yes. But I don't want the chair to be someone important. I want it to be the person who carries everyone's voice to the table. A year passed. Malona Square had become the town's living room. Every Wednesday was Fruit Challenge Day, born from the Children's Council. Affordable fruit lined the shelves and stamp cards filled up fast. The Learning Centre now had a quiet zone and a buzz zone, so homework kids and fitness game kids shared the same roof without friction. A step count leaderboard glowed on the lobby wall, and children pressed close. Our class is number 1 this week. At each monthly strategy session, the Health Index dashboard flickered to life and everyone leaned in. Look, Malona North isn't solid red anymore, it's closer to orange. The share of kids moving at least 30 minutes a day went up too. Avery exchanged a glance with Mr. Takahashi beside her. It's really changing, isn't it? Yeah, but we're still in the middle of it. I think this is just the opening chapter of a long story about a town that started at the very bottom. Mizuki read aloud from the minutes she had just written. The red on the health map was never a dead end. It was a sign that said, start here. That's a good line, Avery. After the meeting, children ran and laughed across the open ground outside the square. Avery slipped into the pack without a second thought. Hey, we should pick a new chair next year, Riku said. Why? You'll be in middle school. Pass the baton to the younger kids. The job of repainting the map, that should keep going long after us. Avery thought for a moment, then smiled. You're right. Baton passer suits me better than chair, anyway. In the amber light of late afternoon, a health map glowed on someone's tablet. The colour over Malona North was no longer the deep red of dead last. Slowly, steadily, it was shifting, from orange toward yellow. The force behind that change was not a grand decree from some distant official. It was a single sentence from a 12-year-old class president. Let's turn this around, starting right here. And the classmates who nodded, and the adults who leaned in to listen, and the small strategy sessions that stacked up one after another until the map itself began to change. Source: Roanoke Valley Community Healthy Living Index, https://www.roanoke.edu/. In Roanoke, Virginia, a community health index visualizing children's exercise, diet, and living conditions became a map of local health challenges, driving the development of Melrose Plaza, a neighbourhood hub combining a grocery store, clinic, and learning centre.